All right, so what was the day? Day 21.
लिटरली भाई मैंने अपनी जिंदगी में पहली बार ब्लैक व्हाइट और ग्रे के बाद में कलर सेलेक्ट करा है भाई जिंदगी में पहली बार मुझे ब्लैक व्हाइट और ग्रे पसंद आता है
Let me just open VS Code first of all. All right, so I remember last night I was continuing with this quiz program I created, and the main thing that I was not able to configure it was guess.append and the user answer. Like for each question you have to append the guess, and thereafter the score was easy. And yeah, when the loop repeats itself you have to put the question number, otherwise the options will display the same option for all the questions. All right, after that we have a small time program and the random programs. So before going into let's just dive into the functions. Let me revise functions real quick. And we'll concession program will create tomorrow Sunday, and we'll create a function, return function. So define x on a comma b. Protocol was something like that, I don't remember exactly. And print a comma b. Actually it's kind of bugged up. And look. Define add x and y. And we have so x plus y, z equals x plus y. So we have to print z. No, we have to return z. So it technically will repeat itself and should give us the answer. But what's the point of using x if it's already there? And that was the function add x comma y z. Okay, so we had to add 1 comma 2. We have to return that thing. Return, and then we have to print add, and then what would the value of x be? Let's say 1 and then 2. So it'll return us 3. So that was return using the function program. All right. So now let's go for what do we have?
Options are for the first.
For today's topic, it was the dice roller program using the import random, and the second thing was I had to follow up with the lecture, the keyword arguments, and if possible, the arguments and KW arguments. All right. Let's go.
Hey everybody, today I'm going to explain default arguments. Default arguments are a default value for certain parameters. The default is used when that argument is omitted when you invoke a function. In the last topic, we discussed positional arguments. Today we will be examining default arguments. Then in future topics, we'll examine keyword and arbitrary arguments. Let's begin. Let's define a function to calculate net price. There will be 3 parameters: an original list price, a discount, if there is one, and sales tax. We will return a net price, and here's the formula. List price times 1 minus our discount percentage times 1 plus our sales tax. Maybe I'm buying a PlayStation 5 for $500. I will pass in $500 for the list price. Well, I can't actually execute this function without also passing in an argument for discount and tax. Perhaps the discount is 0 and the sales tax is 5%, 0.05. Well, this would work, and I should probably put this within a print statement so you can see it. There we are. My total is $525. The list price of $500, no discount, and 5% sales tax. Now suppose that maybe 90% of the time when we're executing this function. Hey everybody, today I'm going to explain default arguments. Default arguments are a default value for certain parameters. The default is used when that argument is omitted when you invoke a function. In the last topic, we discussed positional arguments. Today we will be examining default arguments. Then in future topics, we'll examine keyword and arbitrary arguments. Let's begin. Let's define a function to calculate net price. There will be three parameters: an original list price, a discount, if there is one, and sales tax. We will return a net price, and here's the formula. List price times 1 minus our discount percentage times 1 plus our sales tax. Maybe I'm buying a PlayStation 5 for $500. I will pass in $500 for the list price. Well, I can't actually execute this function without also passing in an argument for discount and tax. Perhaps the discount is 0 and the sales tax is 5%, 0.05. Well, this would work, and I should probably put this within a print statement so you can see it. There we are. My total is $525. The list price of $500, no discount, and 5% sales tax. Now suppose that maybe 90% of the time when we're executing this function, most of the time discount is 0, and our sales tax is almost always the same. What we could do to make this function a little more flexible is to set these two parameters to have a default value. In place of sending in 3 arguments, we can pass in 1, then set our discount and our tax to have a default value. So I will set discount to be 0 and tax to be 0.05, meaning 5%. So this function would work. Our total is $525. And that's assuming that our discount is 0 and our tax is 5%. The nice thing about using default arguments is that, let's say that somebody has a discount. Well, this function would also accept up to 2 additional arguments. So let's print our net price, 500, and our customer has a coupon for 10% off. I'll add a second argument of 0.1. If we're passing in an argument for our discount, we'll use whatever is passed in rather than the default. Our total now is $472.50. Or maybe this time, they are not paying sales tax. I will set the sales tax to be 0. Now the customer's total is $450. So that's kind of the nice thing about default arguments. It makes your functions more flexible, and it can reduce the number of arguments, especially if the arguments that you're passing in tend to be consistent. Most of the time people don't have a discount, and almost everybody is paying 5% sales tax. Why pass in arguments if we don't have to? Let's cover an exercise. We'll create a count up timer. We will import the time module. We will define this function, define count. There will be 2 arguments, start and
Alright, so default arguments function. Basically default arguments functions में यूज क्यों यूज होंगे? let's say शुरू कैसे होगा? डिफाइन करूंगा मैं एक फंक्शन को sat के लिस्ट में क्या क्या है? अमाउंट है, डिस्काउंट है, टैक्स है, तो MRP रहेगा amount times 1 minus discount times 1 minus tax, ये रहेगा, और return MRP रिटर्न करा दो। तो अब अगर लेंगे कि print stat list में क्या अमाउंट डाल दिया 0, अमाउंट डाल दिया 67 0 0 पॉइंट, ये डाल, तो प्रिंट तो वही करेगा, ये आ गया। इन दोनों में से एक भी आर्गुमेंट अगर नहीं हुआ तो इट वोंट गिव मी द वैल्यू, बट इट डिड गिव मी वैल्यू जब मैं इसको ही असाइन कर दूंगा कि ऑलरेडी डिस्काउंट 0 है एंड जो टैक्स है वो है 0.05। तो अब ये कोड यहाँ पे एग्जीक्यूट होना चाहिए, ये हो रहा है। एंड लेट्स से डिस्काउंट मैंने 0 डाल दिया और ये 0 डाल दिया, तो what will happen now? Still it's 67. So even if discount is 0 over here and the tax is this, if are taking, if you're inputting the value, it will consider this value over the define function that we are using in the earlier statement. So this is the example of control A, C, and somewhere here I pasted default arguments and functions. Really easy. Let's go with the program.
Range start, comma, end. Within the range function, the second argument is exclusive, so I'm going to add 1 to the end of our time. Then I will print x. To make this thread that's running the program sleep, you can access the time module's sleep method, pass in 1 for 1 second. Then outside of the for loop, let's print the word done. To invoke this function, I need to pass in 2 arguments, a start time and an end time. I'll set the start time to be 0, the end time to be 10 seconds. Up timer. We will import the time module. We will define this function, define count. There will be 2 arguments, start and end. For x in range start, comma, end. Within the range function, the second argument is exclusive, so I'm going to add 1 to the end of our time. Then I will print x. To make this thread that's running the program sleep, you can access the time module's sleep method, pass in 1 for 1 second. Then outside of the for loop, let's print the word done. To invoke this function, I need to pass in 2 arguments, a start time and an end time. I'll set the start time to be 0, the end time to be 10 seconds. So we start at 0, then we will increment by 1 every second. I'll speed up the video, I think you get the idea, but we'll stop at 10. Let's assume that most of the time a user would like to begin at 0. Well, we don't necessarily need to pass that in as an argument. Let's set our start parameter to have a default value of 0. We only need to pass in 1 argument, but we do have a problem. Non-default arguments should follow default arguments. So if you use any default arguments, you'll want to be sure that they're after any positional arguments. So let's reverse these. And that should work. So now when I run this program, it's assuming we'd like to start at 0. but we'll need to pass in an ending amount of seconds. When do we want to stop? That works the same. But now we do have the option of starting at a different number. This time, let's end at 30, but we will begin at 15. We're beginning at 15, then we will count to 30. I'll speed up the video. There we are. All right, everybody. So in conclusion, default arguments.
अरे बाबू तेरे में वो आपका ग्रुप है आपका वाला उस पे लिखिए किसी के पास एसबीआई का वीजा डेबिट कार्ड है
लिख रहा हूँ एक से
एसबीआई का वीजा तेरे पास है क्या वीजा वीजा तो तेरे पे भी नहीं होगा हाँ बेबी हेलो अरे सुनो मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ हाँ क्या नहीं नहीं सुनो सुनो मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ कि तुम्हारे पास एसबीआई का वीजा डेबिट कार्ड है एसबीआई का देखना जरा मेरे को पेमेंट कर दूंगा बस मैं तुम्हारे कार्ड से पेमेंट कर दूंगा मेरे पास ग्लोबल रुपए का है यूज करा है सर एक्टिवेट है वो चलो बेटा एक्टिवेट अच्छा रुको आ रहा हूँ अरे ऑर्डर कर था ना मैं जिससे बोल रहा था हमारा भी ग्लोबल ही है सबका ग्लोबल ही है और मैं जीजू को कॉल करने का मन नहीं है जीजू के पास होगा फिर वो पूछेंगे तुझे क्या चाहिए हाँ अरे कोई नहीं ग्लोबल से थोड़ी होगा
चल भी नहीं रहा है
सेम ही तो है तुम्हारा और मेरा सेम है सेम कार्ड है भाई नंबर नंबर कुछ ज्यादा सिमिलर नहीं है बताओ मेरा ये नंबर नंबर कुछ ज्यादा सिमिलर है तुम्हारा यार यार तभी लिया था क्या तुमने भी कार्ड तो मैं बता रहा हूँ मेरे वाले का 6522 9456 5548 9252 अच्छा लास्ट में 4 अलग है बस ओके वाओ भाई इतना सेम व्हाट द फक नाइस इतना सिमिलर होना तो अपने आप में बड़ी बात है भाई आ रहा टी शर्ट प्यारी लगी टी शर्ट देख रहा था साइज के लेके कैमरा ऑन कर मुझे सामने अच्छा मैं पहले ऑन करूँ पहले तो ऑन तू करेगी आगे ठीक है जी मैडम जी कैसे हैं टी शर्ट में टी शर्ट भी दिखानी है कैमरा तो ऑन करेगी पहले मैं थोड़ी करूँ यही होता है और उसमें अरे सच्ची में यार टी शर्ट क्या दिखानी है ईयरफोन ऑर्डर करा था अपने लिए अरे कूपन में ऑफ पड़ जाता है यार और इसमें 150 दिक्कत तो वही है असली सुना देंगे वो सुना देंगे अरे यार क्या हरकत कर रहा है तू दीदी से पूछूं मतलब जीजू को बड़े कामों के लिए करना होता है जैसे 50-60 हजार रुपए चाहिए तब
They are default values for certain parameters. The default value is used when an argument is omitted. They can make your functions more flexible and reduce the number of arguments you have to pass in, especially if those arguments are consistent most of the time. So those are default arguments, and in the next topic, we will discuss keyword arguments. And well, yeah, those are default arguments in Python. Hey friends, it's me again. Today I'm going to explain keyword arguments. A keyword argument is an argument preceded by an identifier. It has a few benefits. It helps with readability, and the order of the arguments doesn't matter if they're keywords. Keyword arguments are one of 4 basic styles of arguments. We discussed positional, default, then next we'll discuss arbitrary. But today we'll be focusing on keyword. Suppose I have a function to display a message, like a greeting. I will name this function the hello function. We will need a greeting, a title, Mr., Mrs., Doctor, a first name, then a last name. All I'm going to do within this function is print an f string. I will print my greeting, the user's title, first name, last name. Then to invoke the hello function, I will need to pass in 4 arguments: a greeting, a title, a first name, and a last name. So for my greeting, let's say hello. The title will be Mr. The first name will be SpongeBob. Last name, SquarePants. So you know, this does work. We're currently using positional arguments. The position of these arguments does matter. So what if I were to switch these around? We have hello SpongeBob SquarePants followed by Mr. Hello SpongeBob SquarePants Mr. An optional feature followed by Mr. Hello SpongeBob SquarePants Mr. An optional feature when sending arguments to a function is that we could turn these into keyword arguments. Prefix any arguments with the name of the parameter followed by equals. Title equals Mr. First equals SpongeBob. Last equals SquarePants. Then with these keyword arguments, the order really doesn't matter. Maybe we move the first name to the end, and this still would print out as the same thing. We have title, first name, last name. If you're mixing and matching positional arguments and keyword arguments, you want to be sure that the positional arguments are first. So if I was to move the string, our greeting, to the end, well, this technically wouldn't work. We have a syntax error. Positional arguments follow keyword arguments. So make sure any positional
क्या हो गया? क्या हो गया?
कुछ नहीं है, बता रही है वही 15 दिन बाद तू माँ बनने वाला है। अच्छी बात है, बनाओ बनाओ। खुशी की बात है। मुझे लेके चलूंगा, साले डायरेक्ट हॉस्पिटल जाएंगे। यार कॉलेज जाना, मिस कॉलेज छुट्टी है साले, कॉलेज क्या कॉलेज? मानू जी कैसी हैं आप? मानू जी अभी भी अपडेट मिला कि आपके पास वीजा का डेबिट कार्ड है, एसबीआई का। आपको कार्ड नंबर याद है, सीवी याद है?
छोड़ के लिखूंगा तो क्या क्या चाहिए? नेम होना चाहिए,
हाँ अरे यार काम है थोड़ा सा, कूपन कुछ लग जाएगा उससे मेरा, इसलिए बोल रहा
होना
हूँ।
चाहिए, हेडिंग होनी चाहिए, कॉन्टेक्स्ट
सीवी
होना
है तेरे पास?
चाहिए, मोरल होना चाहिए।
नहीं नहीं, पापा से कुछ नहीं करना भाई, पापा को इन्वॉल्व मत कर। पापा कह सकता है मेरे अकाउंट से पैसे काट लेंगे साले, पैसे कट गए, पैसे कट गए। देखो एक बार, वैशाली को किसका है? वैशाली को भी वीजा एसबीआई का, एचडीएफसी चाहिए नहीं। वैसे तो पापा के से भी करता हूँ, पापा को मैं पैसे करता हूँ, उसको पे कर देंगे। तेरे पास नहीं है कार्ड नंबर है? अच्छा चल कोई नहीं, ठीक है पापा कर देगा।
प्रिंट
ठीक।
स्टोरी
दीदी के पास वीजा कार्ड है, दीदी को ये पता है कार्ड कहाँ फेंक देगी? हम ही लोग हैं भाई
2 3 4
चल छोड़ कोई नहीं
पहली 4
अरे यार घर में 3 कार्ड चले तीनों के पास लेकिन बोल नहीं सकता तीनों से तुम्हें कोई है जिसके पास वो एसबीआई का वीजा अरे यार करो कुछ जुगाड़ क्या कर दूं देखो बात ये पैसे कितने भी उड़ाते रहो लेकिन जहाँ पैसे बचे वहाँ बचाओ मिल जाएगा वो तो ग्रुप डाल दूँ
हाँ डाला
उसमें से आएगी किसी को
हेलो हेलो
यार डेबिट कार्ड सबके पास ही होगा
रिटर्न हो गया
मैं तो बाबू से पूछता हूँ तुम तो काम स्टार्ट करो बैठे क्यों हुए हो तुम काम स्टार्ट करो शिवी अपडेट है बच्चा एक काम करो रखो क्लोन करो
प्रिंट
अपडेट है मेरी जान अपडेट है हाँ तो
हाय
मैंने तो घर में नहीं देखा था अरे मेरी मैं खुद देख लिया और अच्छे से आप लोगों ने 3 अपडेट तो खुद ही करे रुको जरा तुम्हारी आईडी लॉगिन करो पहले तो वो हमने पहले किया था तो मैं शेयर और आईडी लॉगिन कर लूं तो शेयर कौन से लॉगिन किया अरे स्विच करनी पड़ती है ना मैं अपनी यूज करता हूं अरे स्विच होनी पड़ती है ना नहीं बच्चा मैंने अपडेट कर दिया आपको कुछ कॉन्फ़िगर हुआ है नहीं डेली लिंक्डइन पे करना जरूरी नहीं है हफ्ते में 3 दिन हो गए बहुत है गिटहब की बात कर रही हूं गिटहब का हां करेंगे ना अभी सही था ना नहीं हुआ है लोन है बाबू देख मैं लास्ट अपडेट देख रहा हूं अभी भी सेकंड वाला जो कमिट है उसमें सब डाल देता चलो स्टार्ट करो ओपन करो एक बार कैंसिल करो देखूंगा पूरा हुआ है अगर खुला हुआ दिख गया तो एक मिनट अभिषेक से बात करो देखो देखो खुला हुआ है हाँ करेगा अपडेट देखो करेगा लास्ट हेलो
प्रोविजनल हो गया कीवर्ड
बाबू यार उसका एसबीआई का वीजा कार्ड है क्या
चैप्टर
तेरे पे किसका है
कॉन्टेक्स्ट स्किप हो गया
तेरे पे कार्ड ही नहीं है सूर्यांश पे किसका है
मोरल स्किप हो गया
वीजा है
कॉन्टेक्स्ट
तो दिव्यांश पे किसका है
पहले
ध्यान चोट सब एसबीआई वाले लोग ठीक है अब दिव्यांश का नंबर दे दिया
Function is that we could turn these into keyword arguments. Prefix any arguments with the name of the parameter, followed by equals. Title equals Mr. First equals SpongeBob. Last equals SquarePants. Then with these keyword arguments, the order really doesn't matter. Maybe we move the first positional argument. So if I was, well, this technically would. So make sure any positional arguments are first before using any keyword arguments. Two helpful benefits of using keyword arguments is that it helps with readability, and the order of the arguments doesn't matter. We know what this argument is, as well as these two. Title, last name, first name. Let's say we have a first name and a last name. John, James. These two names kind of sound like first names. Is our first name John, or is it James? We could use keyword arguments to clarify which is which. You thought John was the first name, but it's actually the last name. And the first name is James. Then our title is still the same. Hello, Mr. James John. Let's cover another example. I'm going to print the numbers 1 through 10 using a for loop. For x in range 1, 11 because the second argument is exclusive. Then I will print x. After each print statement, we print a new line. Do you remember in previous topics how we would follow our print statement with comma, end, then a new character, such as a space? Well, end is a keyword argument found within the built-in print statement. In place of ending each print statement with a new line, we are using this keyword argument of end and setting it to be a space. Another one is separate that's found within the print statement. Maybe we have some numbers. They're all separate strings. The numbers 1 through 5. I can use the separate keyword argument, then separate each of these strings with a given character or characters. I will separate each of these strings with a dash. A lot of built-in functions, such as the print function, they have some keyword arguments you can use. Let's go over an exercise now. We're going to create a function to generate a phone number, but we'll need to pass in a country code, area code, the first 3 digits, and the last 4 digits. Let's define this function as define get phone to get a phone number. We have a country code, area code, first meaning first few digits, then last meaning last few digits. We will return an F string. We will place our country code first, dash, then our area code, dash, the first
मैंने कहा दीपक बोल रहा हूँ साले बोलता है हाँ हाँ बताओ बोलता है कार्ड सारे बैंक के मेरे पास सुबह बताऊंगा
few digits, dash, the last few digits. My phone number, phone num, equals, I will invoke the get phone number function we just created, but we'll need a country code, an area code, first few digits, then last few digits. And remember, the order doesn't necessarily matter. Usually I try and be consistent with the order of the parameters. Make up a phone number. I'm in the United States. My country code is 1. Area code 123. The next few digits will be 456. The last few will be 7890. Then let's print this phone number. Print phone num. And here's my phone number. Although you can change it up based on how you do phone numbers in your country. This is typically how you would see a phone number in the United States. Alright everybody, so those are keyword arguments. They are just arguments preceded by an identifier that matches the name of a function's parameters. It does help with readability, and the order of the arguments doesn't matter. When invoking a function, it could be helpful to identify some of these arguments. And well everybody, those are keyword arguments in Python. Hello friends, it's me again. Today I need to explain arbitrary arguments. Arbitrary meaning a varying amount of arguments. We don't know how many arguments the user is going to pass in when they invoke a function.
Alright, so this lecture is gonna be way longer than I expected. Let's create some of the program right now. So far so good. Let's create the concession program
वो बोल रहा है शेर रूम में आ गई क्या
using date.
हाँ कैमरे की खोलो
I'll just upload this. Alright, so wrapping up, and what we learned today was positional arguments, default arguments, and keyword arguments, and we'll be continuing the arbitrary arguments tomorrow. Created the count up program for time, and that's it for today. I'll be wrapping because I'm really tired as I've been to this hackathon in Bharat Mandapam. So yeah, all right, bye.